This is an ABP Live Podcast.
Hi guys, welcome to yet another episode of Ladies First with me, Niharika Nanda, only on ABP Live Podcasts. And today we have another superwoman with us, someone who is working in the realm of disability and has been working in it for quite some time. Today we have Miss Richa Bansal with us. Hello ma'am, how are you?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for having me, Niharika. Thank you.
It is all my pleasure. So to tell my audience a little about you, Miss Richa has been Ms. Richa has been the founder of Sarthi, which is an organization that is working towards making persons with disability into professionals with disability. So, Richa ji, working with people with disabilities, how did this thought come about? I mean, there are a lot of people out there who want to, get into the realm of doing good or spreading good in the society. But to choose that one field, how did you land towards or sort of lean towards working towards people with disability?
Well, Niharika, I think I have always believed that life happens, things happen,
Right.
they happen for a purpose.
Absolutely.
So if I look back on my journey, I think everything one by one sequentially happened in such a manner that it led me here. So if I talk about myself,
Right.
I have experience working in a corporate, I have experience working in social sector, and then Sarthi happened. So while I was still working in corporate, which was at Vodafone, I spent about 8.5 years at Vodafone in the sales and marketing space. I was leading their telemarketing channel for the Delhi circle.
Okay.
And that is the time when I first got my exposure to working with people with vision impairment. While it was a very small project, very time-based project that was taken up, but I think it gave me a perspective. It gave me an understanding. And that I think sowed the initial seeds of what could possibly turn out to be in future something called Sarthi. So that's how it started.
Okay, so you never know what you're going to go through. You think that, okay, my day is going to go this way, but then something happens and your entire career path changes. So
Correct.
how was that transition? I'm sure it wouldn't have been easy, like moving from a very corporate setup to setting up something on your own.
So I think I wouldn't say that it was a transition which happened from corporate to this. I think it was more like baby steps towards it, because while I was with Vodafone, I had already started developing certain inclination towards the social impact space per se. So I started volunteering my time in the CSR teams. I even led one of the best projects, I would say, when I look back, of Vodafone Foundation, which was around women empowerment, and which is called the Red Rickshaw Revolution. And that, I think, because happened fairly sequentially for me, it gave me a certain knock at the door that, hello, for how long are you going to continue doing what you are, which is selling SIMs and trying to simply get more incremental revenue. And I think that's the turning point for me to decide enough is enough. I think I would rather derive some more meaning out of my life. I was educated, I had experience, I knew my skills were there. So what more could I do? So while, I started looking out for a job consciously, so I resigned from my job in Vodafone, and I started consciously looking for an opportunity in the social sector. And trust me, Niharika, I had no idea what will I do there, because the only thing that I knew was, okay, you perhaps have to be JNU passed, or you have to be Jhola Chhap to work in a social sector. And but I didn't know anything. But yes, I knew that I was good at what I used to do, which was marketing, which was sales. And that is how I landed myself a job with Child Rights in You as their fundraising head for the North Circle.
Okay,
and that became quite a turning point for me, because I think till such time that we continue to work in a corporate environment, we have little or zero understanding of what happens at the grassroots. Those 2.5 that I spent at Karachi were life-changing for me, because for the first time I realized what is life beyond the AC quarters of our office, right?
Right. That was something I was just about to say, that you don't get the, outlook outside your AC cubicle and
So
freshly ventilated places.
correct. And in fact, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I told them, the way there is an army service mandated in couple of countries for all the youth, I think there has to be a mandate for all the MBA students, all the business students who want to come and do something in life, to actually do
Right.
a mandatory service in social
Social service.
because
Right.
then only will you get a
Right.
perspective towards what are the real solutions you need to offer in the market. So I'm fairly
Absolutely.
thankful for that stint of 2.5 years at CRI, because it gave me a very well-rounded perspective to what are the real problems and how can we try and solve them. And because, the biggest other challenge that happens with social sector is brilliant intent. They want to do the right things. They're raising money for the right things, but they lack the talent. And I think that is where, when a
Right.
corporate person comes in with some experience, that adds value. And I think after having spent that time with
Absolutely.
clients, I took a sabbatical and I wanted to get back to work. And when I wanted to get back to work, clearly I had two options. Either I could go back to a corporate, or I could go back to a social sector
Right.
organization. But somehow, when I started meeting all these companies back again for a job, I realized something was not sitting right, because, it had been long since I moved out of a corporate, and I was not able to find
Right.
meaning into whatever I would land up doing. And as far as social sector was concerned, I realized I was built a little differently. While respect to social sector organizations, there is brilliant intent, but I think somewhere I found myself not in pace, in terms of, there was a missing sync, because my pace was already very
Right.
different. And that is when I said that, what is it that I could do which could perhaps still be in the space of business, but satisfied my urge to do something meaningful. And that is when I thought of Sarthi.
Meaningful. Absolutely.
I didn't want to hang my boots saying that, I want to open my own NGO, because I think the whole concept has to be about driving something sustainably. And therefore, I wanted to run a for-profit organization which had a social impact as a byproduct of it. That's how Sarthi came.
That is a great vision towards keeping, because again, there are people who say that social service should be selfless, but then again, as you said, sustainability is just as important. You need to create a model that will sort of ultimately help the people that they're supporting at the moment, but also ensures that even in the future, people who want to join, there is a place for them to sort of connect with you.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
I'm sure that there must have been a lot of challenge and a lot of bumps in the road while you were doing this, and while Sarthi was, established. So, what kind of challenges did you face?
I think the initial thought of doing something like this, when I used to table it out to people, I didn't find too many takers, because at the end of the day, you have to build people, community around you who believe in what you're trying to do. I think
exactly.
a long time to believe, to make that community, to build that community of believers with. So that was the first thing. Second, to get my first paying client itself was such a huge challenge, because every time I would knock on any corporate's door, they would direct me to the CSR team, and that I think was a huge problem. To convince them that just because I'm choosing to work with persons with disabilities doesn't mean that I just need your donations. I need work. My people are capable. So you need to direct me to your business teams and not your CSR teams. So those are the kind of challenges that we grappled with. And definitely the other very critical challenge was, I didn't come with any background of disability. I didn't have any association, a family tie, or any history of disability. So the other challenge that I was facing was that the community of persons with disabilities with whom I wanted to work, they had huge trust issues. They would always come up with
They felt that probably you couldn't empathize with them, or it was more of a sympathetic situation, maybe.
Not necessarily in that space. I think they came from the space of, why are you doing it for us? What is in it for you? So, because historically, they have experienced a life which was with a lot of struggle. Not very many people stood by them. And therefore, they come from a space of constantly questioning everybody's intent. So while on one hand, I had a challenge of handling the corporates, on the other hand, my challenge was, how do I manage the trust issues of people? So these were definitely some large looming challenges I faced initially.
So how has the journey been till date? It's been 5 years. How has it been? What were the kind of experiences that you got to have during this time?
I think I'm still learning a lot. Because I started hiring persons with vision impairment to start off with.
Okay, so you're not just supporting them, you're also employing them yourself as well.
So we are an employment. I'll give you a brief background. So Sarathi started off as a call center, as a customer engagement center, right? It is just that we chose to hire only persons with disabilities. And in the course of the last 5 years, we have created our own set of experiences, case studies, which have given us the belief that when there are other corporates who are looking at driving disability inclusion, there are enough and more case studies available through us and enough and more learnings available, which can be immediately implemented to get them a head start. Right. So that is how we came up with the concept after having experienced it for ourselves, that because we have done it in some way which is right, how can we empower and enable this for other corporates? That's how the journey transitions for us. And as you asked, 5 years. So I think in these 5 years, there are lots of milestones that we have achieved. And only because of those milestones did we get the confidence to actually start laying down the foundation for the next stage of Sarathi, right?
Right.
So that's how it has started. And in fact, during pandemic, one of the biggest learnings that we gathered was during the pandemic, because we were just a team of about 20 people at the beginning of the pandemic. And 1 year down, we became 100 people, right? Because
that's amazing.
Yeah, and we started working from home as a concept even way before the pandemic hit, because we wanted to create opportunities for women who were disabled and were confined to home but were skilled. So we did a pilot project with them in 2019, and that turned out to be successful. So when pandemic hit, we were fully equipped to go online within no time. So while there were large call centers who were really struggling with it, we were absolutely geared up to do it. And that therefore allowed us to go pan-India. Till that time, we were only hiring locally. And suddenly we were able to hire people from 13 different states. We were able to talk 10 different languages. We acquired clients from down south, from Mumbai, because suddenly they said that it doesn't matter, right? And I think therefore was quite a game changer for us.
So basically, this entire wave of online, of everything going online was definitely beneficial for you as far as your clients are concerned, and as far as your own manpower was also concerned.
Absolutely. Also because what tends to happen is, Niharika, when it comes to persons with disabilities, one thing which is important for everybody to understand is the parents are very protective.
Right.
They want to be...
Parents in general are very protective, let alone a special situation, cannot even imagine, and very fairly so.
Yeah, very fairly so. So what tends to happen is that for them to let go of their child to a different location and work is a huge thing. right?
Right. Right.
Also, sometimes the kind of disabilities people come with, they will not be able to manage by themselves. And also, the other thing is, if you look at it from a corporate point of view, a lot of job roles that get created for persons with disabilities are mostly entry level. They are not necessarily in a position to take home that kind of money also that can provide the right
Right. Right.
support system for them. And therefore,
Right.
work from home is something that I strongly advocate for persons with disabilities, because not only are they a committed set of people, they work and stretch their boundaries, but it just gives them that comfort to be able to just do their job better.
Right.
So that's why it
Better.
worked very well
Exactly.
for us. Yeah, we hired lots of people who were bedridden. They were not able to move from their beds because of maybe muscle dystrophy or any other ailment. And therefore, it just made so much sense. And there is a happier bunch of people who work with us, and it just makes sense.
Right. So talking about people with different disabilities, as you mentioned, that there are certain situations where things are so like extreme. So how do you like manage? I'm sure that every now and there might be a case that sort of makes you feel ki, okay, this is not in our everyday system, so we need to create a special system for this one. So how do you manage those things?
So I think, Niharika, one biggest advantage with us was we are not a huge company. We are not a very well-established, structured MNC. And the biggest
Right.
advantage, therefore, is that we come with a good intention, and it is in our hands to be flexible and create and increase a point in our HR policy as the need may be.
Right.
So I'll give you an
Right.
example.
Right.
So as I said, we were largely only hiring persons with vision impairment. Then we started hiring people with orthopedic challenges. And then we started also hiring people with invisible disabilities. So, last year, we hired a person with thalassemia. Now, thalassemia is a blood disorder where you essentially need support of the organization you're working with, just to be able to accommodate those additional incremental offs, because the blood transfusion has to take place at a certain frequency.
Needs to happen. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, did it bother us? No, it did not. Because at the end of the day, we then changed our policy to only look at the outcomes. It doesn't matter. There is this other person, he's working as a team leader. He's got he's got a muscle dystrophy. Now, because he has muscle dystrophy, he has to go through his physiotherapy every day at 10:30 a.m. Now, the time to start work is 9:30. He gets his physiotherapy done from 10:30 to 11:30. Now, does that make any difference to me? No. And without me even articulating in words, here is a boy who knows that he is getting his physiotherapy done and therefore will log in perhaps 2 hours later without me saying a word, stretches 3 hours extra for work. So I'm saying that it is all it is about a mutual understanding that gets developed. There is a lot of empathy that you have to show towards their reasonable accommodations they are seeking. And it just happens all on its own. I mean, I have never seen work getting compromised because of it.
That is the best part, I would say, because if, it's a give and take thing. If the person is seeing that you are giving them everything that they need, there will be inner urge of inside of them to sort of compensate for that and give you an even better result.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, Richa, tell me this, like, as your journey has progressed, when it comes to working with people with disabilities. Oh, sorry, just a second, there's some internet issue. So sorry. Sorry, okay. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just. So as you just shared with me your experience of working with people with disabilities and how they have also been working in your organizations, and you're also trying to get them employed further. So can you, would you like to share a success story? Because I'm sure that there must be many that you have sort of brought into this entire world. So can you share one success story with us?
So I'll share two actually. I
Absolutely.
think one is most of the time when I speak with corporates, they always say that we have only very entry-level roles on which we can hire persons with disabilities. And
Right.
the biggest challenge they face is how to find opportunities to grow them further in the ladder. Now,
Right.
people like you and I think we've gone through a very conventional growth path, so to say. Okay.
Right.
And we have not necessarily faced those challenges because we've been fairly outspoken. We know what are the next steps we have to take, or if there is a cross-functional growth that we are looking at. So when our team went from a size 20 to 100, we realized that we needed a lot of functional heads. We needed a lot of team leaders. So instead of hiring people from outside, we created a complete program to build leadership capabilities and functional capabilities in identified set of people that we already had. And we made them grow further up. So today, in fact, our HR is being led by a girl with 100% vision impairment. Our digital marketing and content is being led by a girl who's 100% blind. Our operations is being led along with client servicing by a boy who's 100% blind. So what has therefore happened is that it has given us also immense learning as to how to grow a person with disability upwards in their journey, which included how to train them, how to build their capacities, how to give them the confidence that they can be on their own. So, that is one. Second thing that I would like to share is Amazon is one of our clients. And this is one of my favorite ones, which I talk to a lot of corporates about. Now, what tends to happen is when corporates are looking for hiring a person with disability, they tend to use the same job description. They tend to use the same listing as is applicable to a disabled person. There is nothing wrong in it. However, sometimes what tends to happen is that the same job role, if it was to be bifurcated by the tasks and mapped further to the skills and specifically to the specific auditory skills and visual skills, etc., you are in a position to not only hire one person to do the entire thing, but maybe 3 people to do different parts of the job and therefore still deliver the outcome. So what we did for Amazon was, the job given to us was seller acquisition and management of their account. We actually bifurcated the entire thing because we realized it required people to speak with the sellers. It required us to also handle their account, which basically meant the graphics had to be managed. And it also meant to handle their complete account, which meant the managing their delivery, fulfillment, etc. Across all of this, we realized some part of the job could be done by vision impaired people. Some part of the job could be done by hearing impaired people, and some needed everything together. So now we have a team of 8 people where we have people with vision impairment, people with hearing impairment, and people with orthopedic challenges who combinedly do this job together. And this has become one of the best practices and has been shared with Amazon, and they keep sharing it with their people as well.
That is amazing. That is a great realization on your part and on Sarthi's part, because again, as you said, that mostly for people belonging to the realm of disabilities, they sort of get again entry-level jobs, and people outside of that zone don't really realize that what kind of work they can be put into, what kind of skills they have and can be used ahead. So great realization and great implementation of the same on your part. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
So Richa, talking about you and your experiences, does it ever get overwhelming? Because no matter how much we deny it, it is something that sort of, is gut wrenching a lot of times. So does it get overwhelming?
It used to initially, but not anymore, because now all these people are a part of my team. I mean, they're a part of Sarathi in such a deeper level that honestly, मुझे पता ही नहीं चलता that there is disability around me. It has become a fabric of what Sarathi is. So I think the way I would work with my teams, perhaps in my previous organizations, I work with them the same way. It doesn't overwhelm me at all. And I think that is exactly what is required for corporates to.
Yes, normalizing the fact that there is no special treatment that needs to be given. There is no special, understanding that, oh my God, I'm working with a person with a disability. That's exactly what they don't want. They want to be treated normally.
Exactly. So I'm perfectly fine. I don't get overwhelmed at all.
That's amazing. And I think that would also be the case with all the people around them, because unko bhi ek aisa a familiar environment milta hoga to be around people and again act as normally as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Richa, I'm sure that there are days like every job has days when things just go out of hand and there's a lot of stress. So how do you as a person like to unwind and sort of what are the kind of activities that you like to do that is a part of your me time routine, if we can put it that way?
So Niharika, you know na where I stay?
Right.
I live in Dehradun.
Right.
So I chose to live in Dehradun for this reason, because I think it is important for me to feel connected with nature. I'm a very nature person. So I chose to even take up a house in a place which just has forest and mountains around. So that I think is extremely relaxing for me. I'm an early riser. The first 1 hour of the day is something that I don't want any disturbance. And I am very grateful to God that my husband and my daughter wake up late. So that is my time. That truly is my time. And I think just going out for walks is something that really de-stresses. That is something that is me. Yeah.
That is great. And I think we all need, such small activities that are sort of bring us back into our own after days when we have hit the saturation point, and that's very necessary.
Oh, in fact, you won't believe it. I just came back from a very extensive travel, and Sonakshi is aware of it. I literally switched myself off for 2 days. I said, can't
very
do
important.
Because I realized that my battery had completely come down. And if I was to continue doing what I was doing, there was nothing which was going to come out. So I just switched myself off.
Right. You wouldn't be able to do it the way that you can do it now that your social battery has been sort of recharged.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So Richa, tell me this is a common question that I ask all the ladies on Ladies First. So no matter how much we resist the fact, but we still live in India and we live in a so-called patriarchal society. For men, it is always work-life balance, but we have to agree to the fact that for women, it's work-life home balance. So how do you manage that?
I think one very important thing is, and I remember just a few days back, I was talking to a group of employees in another organization on Women's Day, on the occasion of Women's Day. And that is the time when I was sharing it with them also. I think we unnecessarily put too much pressure on ourselves. And I think we are to blame, because it's got nothing to do with external environment. It is we who are to be blamed. And something which is very important, and I have learned over the course of time, is having honest conversations. It is so important for women to first be honest with themselves to basically know what is more important, what is not. And only when we are
Right.
honest with ourselves can we be honest with our spouse, can we be honest with our family,
Mm.
can we be honest with our friends. We have this
Right. Absolutely.
strong urge most of the time that we can do everything. Trust me, we are humans, we can't do
Everything.
everything. And therefore, it
That
is
is true.
important. I have realized another thing. I have a lot of women entrepreneurs as my friends. So
Hmm.
it has become like a close coterie of people, of women who are going through the same thing. So even so,
Right.
it allows you to um, offload. It allows you to feel
Hmm.
light when you're going through a situation, and it also allows you
Right.
to pick up the best practices from each other. But I think the simple
Hmm.
message that I give to everybody is be authentic, be honest with yourself, be
Hmm.
honest with the surroundings. Like sometimes I feel we want to stretch ourselves. Oh, we have to look perfect for this. Oh, we have to do this. Why?
Right.
We
Right.
have to
Push
prioritize.
ourselves a little too hard when we're not supposed to.
Yeah, you're right. We just are too hard on ourselves. We just have to go a little easy.
Right. Right. That is very rightly said, because a lot of time, this entire concept that women can't do probably as much as men can has sort of, instilled so badly in ourselves that now we want to do everything on our own to, the perfect extent that we can. And that
Absolutely.
is also a very problematic thing because we're humans after all.
No, another thing that I would like to mention here, and this is from the point of view of
Hmm.
inclusion. Now, when you look at the
Hmm.
DI space, inclusion started
Hmm.
with, then it came down to LGBTQ inclusion. I'm talking about
Right.
the way it is looked at today, and then is the disability
Right.
inclusion. Now,
Hmm.
if you look at any cross section of society, which
Hmm.
in some way or the other a minority,
Right.
uh, the group always tries harder, right?
Right.
As you rightly pointed out yourself.
You're
The
very,
reason
very
why
right.
a person with disability is trying harder is because there are very limited options and opportunities opening up
Available
for them.
to them. Hmm.
Second,
Right.
because in most situations, they are not necessarily being, they're being looked down upon, or they're not capable, right? So one
Right.
part is
Exactly.
when we are differentiating,
Hmm.
differentiating with them. Second is when not very many opportunities are opening. So what tends to happen is clearly these set of people then stretch themselves, right? So
Right.
whether it is women, whether it is LGBTQ, whether it is persons with disabilities, so that's a standard.
Hmm.
And I think women are coming out of it now, because if you look at
Hmm.
corporates, you look at your corporate, I look
Hmm.
at my corporate. I think women
Right.
inclusion is still reaching a certain stage that it is supposed to be.
It
It's
is.
only at leadership level that perhaps the dialogue needs to still run. But because
Hmm.
women inclusion has reached a certain stage, we are not feeling very deprived. We don't have to prove anything to anyone. So
Right.
if you look at even the
Hmm.
brand campaigns, they have changed their narrative. Now the narrative has changed
Yes.
completely, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it will take some
Right.
time, but women, it is already achieved.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a very great observation, I would say, on your part. Even I didn't realize it, but until you actually said it, that because of the limited number of opportunities, we sort of tend to push ourselves hard, and that is very rightly said. So, Richa, tell me this. Let's conclude the conversation on this question. That seeing people around you who are not as privileged as yourself, has that changed your outlook towards life in any way, or have you changed your life because of that in any of the ways possible?
I think the one thing that I have realized for myself, first of all, I believe that human beings are evolving every time. Every life's experience
Right.
is making a difference in our lives, is
Hmm.
making us go a certain way. I think one of the critical things that
Right.
has happened to me is I've become more empathetic. I'm just
Hmm.
so much more empathetic today compared to who I was earlier. And I think that is what I want to inculcate in my daughter as one of the very critical qualities, because as we go forward in life, whether we are there or not there, but the newer generations, one critical thing that they must possess is empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah.
Right. That is very true, because empathy after all fuels inclusivity, I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was such a pleasure talking to you, Richa, getting to know about Sarthi and all the great work that you are doing. And we need more people and female role models and ideals like you to run such organizations for the, marginalized people of the society, because after all, they won't be marginalized anymore through such efforts like yours. So kudos to Sarthi and kudos to you for sort of beginning this entire campaign and this entire initiative. And all the very best for all your future endeavors with Sarthi as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Niharika, for having a conversation with me. Thank you.
This is an ABP Live Podcast.